Hi everyone, so let's talk about Nestjs course. So of the initial videos we will just talk about what Nestjs is offering and how Nestjs is different from the Express TypeScript or any other framework. And another thing is why developers should choose Nestjs. I mean what Nestjs is offering which is attracting developers to write and building the APIs using Nestjs. So let's try to understand the difference. So what is Express? Express is actually a minimalistic, you can say the framework for Node.js, right? Even if you go to the Express and try to understand, there is nothing much to explore because Express is just a minimalistic MVC non-opinionated. का मतलब है कि you can write the code in Express in your own structure, following your own standard or your own guideline. If there is another person, वो अपनी according Express जैसा code लिखेगा. I mean there are many ways in which you can just design your folder structure. It gives you complete freedom. That's why it is unopinionated. ये basic project structure है and here you see the types config है मेरे पास because it's a TypeScript project. Okay, package JSON है, node है. Why we are calling Nestjs is a framework, not a minimalistic unopinionated, because Nestjs is providing a set of structures. Talk about the Nestjs first, then we'll go to the Express. Here if you see, I mean let's come to the, obviously we are writing TypeScript, so ts config हमें चाहिए, orm config if you want to connect to the database. If you look into the source folder, here you see I have just a domain and here I have created a controllers, factories, services. Inside shared you can create a core modules, structured modules and all. We'll talk about these things in the detail like by Nestjs में what are these things, but they are providing a proper structure कि restaurant APIs मुझे बनाना है, उसके अंदर controller होगा, DT होगा for validation, entity for database, interfaces, services, utility. Apart from that, what additionally Nestjs is offering, Nestjs is a framework. अगर आपको configuration management चाहिए, if I want to just manage the configuration, I can just use the Nestjs config. So this is my Express TypeScript. I mean I try to do it really very nicely, but still I have to be dependent on, let's say I want to manage the environment .env. But in Nestjs I have Nestjs config, Nestjs logger, all these custom built module like Nestjs Mongoose is a nice integration. And I don't need to write these types explicitly in my code because when I'm using Nestjs, it is like rich of the TypeScript. तो मुझे वहाँ पे TypeScript की टेंशन नहीं. I will be using classes, decorators, full blown object oriented concept होंगे. I'm just creating ORM, all these classes, objects and all. यहाँ पे I have freedom. I can just skip them and then I have to manually add the types. You can see express.application. And I have to do all those things structurally. You can see in the app के अंदर क्या क्या कर रहा हूँ मैं, connect to database, initialize middleware, controller, error handling. I mean there is no proper structured way, but Nestjs is handling all these things in its own way of initializing modules. Okay, पहले bootstrap करता है application, then connect to database, load all the routers and initialize the application later, right? Here we have to do manually by ourselves. Okay, I'm saying oh connect to database, initialize middleware, initialize controller, initialize error handling. No, Nestjs has its own managing of modules. Here you can see we are end up adding lots of middleware also like body parser, cookie parser. ये सब नहीं है Nestjs में. We are just writing and here connect to database mongoose.connect. So I mean Express is giving you more freedom, I will say, when it comes to you can just plug and play with anything. But Nestjs, when it comes to proper structuring and proper integration and having a proper structure of the code, then I always choose Nestjs. Nestjs code looks more like Angular code. Angular में लिखते हैं controllers. I mean we write component there, component, services, providers, modules, shared modules, core modules. Similarly यहाँ पे भी देखो, you can see we are writing these modules. Config module. Now config module will have its own services. Restaurant controller, instead of component, here we are creating router controller, and then there are services. What services are doing? Services are connecting to database and it has these dependency injection, IOC container. ये एक बहुत बड़ा advantage है Nestjs का. But whatever the data integration or database layer I need to interact, I will be just injecting their dependencies. Now I got the dependencies, like I got the restaurant repository, which is nothing but representing me a database table. जो database की table है वो इस repo से represent हो रही है. I can just do dot find one. Database operations easily perform हो सकते हैं. That is the biggest advantage. Or its TypeScript support and proper modular structure are really very popular, and the IOC container and dependency injection framework, जो कि Express और these MVC framework doesn't have. आपको dependency injection करना है तो there is no any other way. You might be using Inversify और कुछ other module use करना पड़ेगा. But यहाँ dependency injection कैसे हो रहा है? देखो ये service है, app service. Okay, I added this injectable. Now this service can be added inside the controller, something like this, right? Simply health check service. So private read only health check service, and then you can just call this health check service just by calling the methods. Here if you see in the controller में inject किया मैंने service को, and then from the controller I can call the service. So this is called dependency injection, which is not there anywhere. You can just use external middleware or external library to introduce this in your Express. So using this DI framework, you don't need to worry about creating the object. अब मुझे जैसे रेस्टोरेंट सर्विस क्लास को यूज करना है इस कंट्रोलर के अंदर, एक क्लास को दूसरी क्लास के अंदर यूज करना है, ये समझ लो आप. ये 6 क्लासेस है तो मुझे न्यू क्लास बी इक्वल टू न्यू क्लास ऐसा कुछ करना पड़ेगा, इंस्टेंशिएट करना पड़ेगा ऑब्जेक्ट को. बट यहाँ पे कंस्ट्रक्टर इंजेक्शन है. दैट इज द बिगेस्ट डिफरेंस, एंड दैट्स व्हाई. अब ये समझ लो कि Nestjs इज लाइक जैसे जावा में स्प्रिंग हाइबरनेट पढ़ा होगा अगर, इफ यू हैव गॉन थ्रू, दे आर लाइक मोर ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड, where you are writing a dependency injection, classes, interfaces, all these things you are writing, because you want a proper enterprise level build application, not like simple MVC without just using any structure, just create a REST APIs with HTTP GET PUT POST. because वो ExpressJS में आप सिंपल एक लाइन में भी, एक फाइल में भी सब कुछ लिख सकते हो. HTTP express const app equal to express and then app.get put post delete patch, वो सब Nestjs में नहीं है. Nestjs provide a proper structuring and have a good nice TypeScript support. Another major advantage is it has a nice integration with the external modules like TypeORM, Nestjs TypeORM, Mongoose, Nestjs Mongoose, Sequelize, Nestjs Sequelize, for all the different databases, for all the third-party interfaces, there is a library available. Okay, so you don't need to just worry about how to integrate with that thing, how to integrate with this thing. So this is about some code differences at code level. मैंने फीचर लेवल पे तो गया ही नहीं भाई. एक्सप्रेस में क्या कर सकते हो, एक्सप्रेस सिंपल MVC आप बना सकते हो. देयर ऑल्सो यू राइट अ सिंपल कंट्रोलर और सर्विस, बट वहाँ पे डिपेंडेंसी इंजेक्शन जैसा कुछ है नहीं. यू इंस्टेंशिएट द ऑब्जेक्ट यूजिंग न्यू कीवर्ड एट एवरीवेयर, एंड इट्स अनओपिनियनेटेड. मतलब आई एम राइटिंग एन एक्सप्रेस कोड इन माई ओन वे, माई फ्रेंड माइट बी डूइंग समथिंग एल्स, वो टोटली डिफरेंट स्ट्रक्चर यूज करके नया एप्लीकेशन बिल्ड कर देगा. तो फॉर एंटरप्राइज बिल्ड you always look for something scalable, some things using proper standard. उसमें फिर Nestjs को ही हम use करेंगे. So this is the core differences. In the next video we'll talk about why no Nestjs. I mean we have Koa, Happy, इतने सारे framework है. Why only Nestjs?